how we wanted to, when we go, how we wanted to be buried. Like I have a lot of stuff. I'm leaving my drum to my daughter, my pipe to my daughter, my oldest daughter. So that's what, and, and that's what you go and walk in a woods somewhere on an Indian land. You see a lot of things hanging on the trees. Like you see, sometimes you might even see a pipe hanging on a tree or something. You're not supposed to bother it because that's somebody's, and it might have medicine on there. Then you'll die or you'll get sick. And they used to tell us don't bother nothing.
I suppose that's why a lot of them I don't know what they call themselves ethnologists or whatever it is that used to come up. They would just take those items,
yeah,
and bring them back to their museums or collection or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you hear a lot of people that are digging up bones, graves.
Mm-hmm.
But like Skunko and Dale Home, they used to call him, they dug up bones at Indian Point. They didn't last long after they both died.
Mm.
And, they, I don't know, they probably didn't.
I know we got balled out when we were up in Canada, and I think it was just right alongside one of the rivers up there. I can't remember exactly where we were, but I remember, I think it was Little Frank that we were with, and we saw a breastplate, and then I mean it looked like real, but I thought it was somebody's dance regalia.
Mm-hmm.
So we took it and we were showing, hey, look what we found, and that wasn't what we were supposed to do, because we got balled out. Take that back, and then they had a little ceremony for it up there, back where it was. So that's the kind of stuff I think that a lot of these museum people call themselves scientists or whatever it is. I know they say that they're trying to preserve things, but it was basically stealing.
Yeah. And that's them belong to spirits, all them stuff, and I suppose they get mad because they know, like the spirits, they say you can't see a spirit, but a spirit can see you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what I have now. Birch bark blanket. Oh yeah, that's in first night, 4 days. You gotta wait 4 days then to have the funeral. And first night. Then you have dreams of people that are. You have dreams of people that are gone. Like say if you lose a best friend. And I always have dreams of my best friend Julia. And sometimes you have. I had a dream of my son once, but what he come to me for was he wanted me to go talk to his wife. His wife was having a hard time with his death, and she was kind of didn't have any money, so he had come to my house, and he asked me to help her. And another thing, they don't look at you in the eyes when a person is when and then there's.
Say that again. What was that? With not looking in the eyes.
Oh, they don't. When you dream of a person that is is dead.
Mm-hmm.
They could, you can't, they don't look, you never could see their eyes.
Okay.
Just like when you're walking through with the view of a dead body,
Mm-hmm.
you're supposed to take off your glasses.
Mm-hmm.
And when you walk through there. And another thing is if you're pregnant and you walk through there,
Mm-hmm.
something happens to your baby's eyes.
Mm.
And I know of four kids that have something wrong with their eyes, that during that time they're either their mother or their dad or whoever
Mm-hmm.
passed away, and they went and looked at them.
Yep.
And that's why you're supposed to, tell your my grandma used to tell me everything when you're ready to have your baby. You don't, about the funeral, you can't dance or you're offering your baby to the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing she used to tell us now what not to eat. Like she used to tell me, don't eat none blueberries.
Mm.
She'd say don't eat blueberries and gigu, a lot of fish. She'd say don't. Maybe you could have one, she said, but not
Mm-hmm.
like all,
And a lot of those things, I would think it really has to do with the person themselves too. Wouldn't you say? Like what the maybe what a person is named, or their clan,
mm-hmm.
or their I'm trying to think of what else there would be. Oh, their male or female.
Mm-hmm.
They're so there's a lot of these things I think that were kind of forgotten,
Yeah.
or we don't practice that, or we don't so I think that's kind of the way traditionally, like your generation was brought up. And then I think a lot, because I know we like even our relationships with our family, like our uncles and even our mother and father, there's responsibilities that each had, along with your grandmother and your your grandfathers. And but we all knew these, that we were all taught that. And a lot of that stuff, I mean, maybe it is, I'm always surprised about how much some people know. But I know that's something that's not openly taught. As far as our roles and our responsibilities. And
nowadays things change so day to day, Like another thing, we were told we can't have flowers at a traditional
Yep, I've heard
grave.
that too.
Yeah. So they just keep them outside, outside by the door or something.
Yeah.
And that's what we were told. And we were also told to leave them. We could grieve only for 4 years. After that, you're supposed to quit.
Yeah.
Like my son's 4th year, we quit. His wife gave him a powwow every 4 years, and she'd give a jacket away that was in his like his clan or something.
Yeah.
So she quit after 4 years.
Yep.
She didn't do that no more. And that's the same way they told us we can't go fixing their graves like they do, like putting stuff there, or we're after 4 years we were told just to leave them go, let them go.
Yeah.
And, and when they get after 4 days you quit building a fire at their grave site, where you quit bringing food.
Well, that's on their journey, right? So
yeah, they're still going on their
when
journey.
they're placed or interned, and then usually you help them along
Yeah,
for
4
a
days.
longer journey, put food out for them,
Mhm.
build that fire,
Yeah.
and yeah, so you're kind of helping them along.
Yeah. We used to go with our grandma to the gravesite and go. She'd take grapes up there and cookies, and then there'd be like 6 of us kids all just to go up there to eat all them sweets and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah. What about families just to help them along? What are they like? You talked about it as soon as they've passed to build that fire.
Mhm.
What other preparations should they be aware of? I know somebody's got to make moccasins for them.
Yeah, when they first, you're not supposed to make the moccasins or the journey bag just until the morning of their service.
Okay.
Some told me they made them the night before.
Yep.
And you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do it the morning.
Mm-hmm.
The morning they're gonna leave.
Mm-hmm.
Then you put. I know I put moccasins on about 4 people: Sarah and Julia.
Mm-hmm.
They usually have like a person that went through Medawi to put moccasins on that person.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, when they get up and dance, only the people that went through the lodge get up and dance at one dance
Mm-hmm.
for them. And there was only like 4 of us who get up dancing because we were the only 4 people that went through the Medawi.
Yeah.
So they asked us to did that first dance.
Seemed like I remember one. They kept saying "anin dana" when they would dance like that. I don't know what that meant.
That would probably mean
Or that's what it sounded like anyway to me.
yeah.
But yeah, I see that, because they get up there and they sing that song, and then
the only lady that on that the only lady that on that burial thing can get up and dance with them 3 guys.
Yeah.
And I know everything that's said to the funeral. Like they say, if you get lost, you'll have your clan to help you on the way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's what my grandma used to tell us, if you dream of someone, you let me know, so like we can put up a little feast for them.
Yeah.
Like, and burn just one little berry, one little blueberry, 2 kernels of rice, just a little bit. She'd say, if you burn just a little bit, they get a whole big bunch.
Yeah.
But if you burn big bunch of food, like a big person plate, that she said they'll only get a little bit.
Oh.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
but,
Yeah. So there's I know that once that fire is built, when do they put that out?
on the 4th,
The morning.
Afternoon.
Oh, okay.
The last evening.
Okay.
You burn food there, and then you probably go where their gravesite is, and then start over there.
Okay.
For 4 days.
Yep.
Niwengishagat. Yeah. Then another thing is, you can't have moccasins that are decorated. You
Like
have
beadwork.
Yeah, they just have to be plain.
Mm-hmm.
Plain moccasins.
Yeah. So I've seen people that are like when they're trying to think of the word, when they're in the casket, that they have a lot of different items. I suppose it depends on like their clan, or like if they're medicine people, or
And you're supposed to do that anyway if they if they tell you what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have what I want to give away when I go, and I have, usually like they give away clothes.
Yeah.
They cut a little bitty piece off each clothing
Mm.
that they want to give away, and usually they give away to different reservations.
Yeah.
Like if they want to give something around here, like say if I had a nice jacket, I give, like I said, I want to give this to my friend Elaine,
Mm-hmm.
and or
Yeah.
something like my kids.
Yeah.
And then I'd have that written down,
Mm-hmm.
and I want this so and so to come and talk for my funeral. I want them. I already have somebody, but he's getting pretty sick now, and he said the only ones he's gonna come up here for burial is me and Jenny Woodenfrog
Mm-hmm.
when
Okay.
we pass.
Yeah.
But he said he can't drive anymore. But he's like let's see, he's 74, I think. But he just has back problems.
Yeah.
That's why he can't come and do funerals anymore. He used to come here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Lester's mother was just starting to do funerals. I remember they didn't have nobody in Tower to do a funeral, and she did. She did that funeral.
Yeah.
But that's the only one she did. She never,
Mm-hmm.
like me. I never had a dream or a gift yet to, so I can. Another thing when you're like my husband passed away, I'd have to quit for 1 year. I'd have to quit dancing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to quit doing ceremonies. Just ceremonies. I could talk,
Mm-hmm.
but not do any kind of ceremonies for 1 year.
Yeah.
Or I couldn't dance at a powwow for 1 year.
Yeah.
And there's just so.
Well, I still see or hear people that practice that, when not dancing or going to powwows for
Yeah.
a year.
Zaagi'igining.
Mm.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I left that paper home. I had everything written down I was going to talk about on. Yeah, my ma used to tell me. She'd say, you know what? She'd say, the first, the hard, the hardest thing at a funeral, she says, is to see one of your kids pass. Especially when they're little.
Mm-hmm.
She said, but then they used to tell us not to cry. Gigo mawe can, they'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when my grandpa George died, my mom, she was in the toilet, and I could hear her crying in there.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't come right out and cry. She went and hid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the kids asked me how, I don't know, like I wasn't crying every day, or you know and they say when you do that, you keep them there with you.
Mm-hmm.
They can't go anywhere because they know you're sad and they want to stay by you and help,
Yeah.
but they can't. So they used to say, don't cry. Or then they say when you're crying, if you look at a body, they used to say right out at the funeral that they're going to have a rainy walk.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be raining a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If a tear drops on them,
Mm-hmm.
on the body.
Yeah.
But, and you know they used to tell Indians, to not show their grief, but go, like, I never used to show my grief, but you know it wasn't really hard because I had like 7 years to deal with Lester's death.
Mm-hmm.
I missed him for
Yeah.
all the things he used to do, and and all that. But I watched him suffer so bad that I was. I said, why are you letting him hurt and suffer and all this and but I said, I suppose that's just the way it goes, when a person is sick. But what I'm glad about there is I didn't be mean to him, or like when he was sick, and I just talked to him, and that he used to have one of the men up there come visit him all the time. Lasley, I think his name was, the preacher.
Mm-hmm.
And Axel came down one day to visit him, sat with him. They all were visiting, and he had not many visitors. But and I said, maybe it wasn't really hard for me, that because we talked about it all the time. We talked about death and dying, and we. Um, he used to tell me, I'm laid up here. You can go find somebody else. I said, no. I said, why should I? I'm old too. I said, and I don't want. I remember when we almost got a divorce one time. We were married 22 years, and he told me. He said, well, he said, we're going to get a divorce. He said, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. He said, you're going to go find a man out there that was worse than me. And but I never did. We talked about our problems. We went, and we ended up living together. I mean, married 51 years. But and that's what he said. Gonna, the first one you marry, that's the one you're supposed to stay with for the rest of your life. There's always forgiveness and whatever. And another thing in the death part was, they used to say that the person you marry first, like the first one you marry, that's the person you'll go back with when you die. You'll go back with the first one you marry.
Mm.
Even if you got married and divorced a second time, third time, fourth time, fifth marriage, you'll still go back to the first one that you married.
Yeah.
You'll go back.
What about how much? How much do you know about traditional marriages?
Well, long time ago, there's a lot of people that weren't married. They were like only living together,
Mm-hmm.
like your grandpa and grandma.
Mm-hmm.
They got married way later.
Yeah.
Everybody just lived together then.
Mm-hmm.
That's when a man could have 2 wives, 3 wives, and
Mm-hmm.
four. They didn't ever get married. But just lately, they they would have like the person would the parents, I suppose, would be watching all the people around, the young men around the village. They'd watch how they're being brought up, or what kind of a good workers they are,
Mm-hmm.
hunters and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the mother of that girl, would go and meet with his parents, and they'd ask her to be with their son.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they used to do it a long time ago.
Mm.
And then I suppose they just do like a little ceremony,
Yeah.
like in like tobacco feast. They probably have a feast
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
And that's they were married
Mm-hmm.
until it started going. Like me and Lester got married to the Baptist church because there's no other way.
Yeah.
We,
Well, I suppose with all their rules and government, and there wasn't anybody that maybe that recognized as officiating official, of marriage, other than the clergy and
yeah.
justice of the peace or whatever they call them. Yeah.
I think probably the chief of the people would marry the,
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
or the medicine man. One of the medicine men would marry the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did attend a traditional wedding. I remember that. I think it was. I always talk about Jimmy Jackson. I believe it was him that did that. It was in Duluth back in my college days. But I do remember that. Actually, I think I was the best man. One of my good buddies, Les Gibbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was him and Renee.
Oh.
Yeah, so let's take a break
Mm-hmm.
and freshen up our nibish and our makade mashkiki wabu. And we'll come back here in a little while there, guys. So I'm going to play some more of that Nayashin school songs. You'll want to listen to that. There's a lot of language in it. And of course, it's got a good melody. Let's put it that way.
Zaagi'igining.
Buju, asabikone, zaagi'igining.
We can make up songs.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So we're back. We had a quick little break there. So you are tuned into the Karen Drift Anishinaabemoin language show right here on KBFT, and we are going to get back into our Anishinaabe programming. Yeah. So go ahead there, Auntie.
Another thing that I forgot to mention is a lot of people around now want traditional funerals, but they don't remember, they don't know, they don't maybe they don't have an Indian name.
Yeah.
But what they do is they use their mother's or their dad's Indian name, or their grandpa or their grandma. They use their Indian names. If somebody knows, like their mother or their dad's, or they can give them an Indian name, right? Like say the day they pass away, they can give them Indian names. I know I gave an Indian name to this guy that I gave him an Indian name 2 days before he passed. I think they knew he was going to pass, so and I went down to Virginia to go give him an Indian name.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was buried, when they had his funeral, he had an Indian name.
And that's the thing I think that people maybe need to know the significance of that. Like why would you need an Indian name? Mainly it's because, or at least I've heard anyway, it's because that's the spirit's way of knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Yep. And so there's also, they can find out your clan also, so if you know individuals like that need that information, you contact your elder, and your elder will guide you. They'll give you a name, who to contact.
Yeah.
Because there's people that are really good at that. So much so that some of it is what would you say, creator given gift, talent, or knowledge, or because they can even locate people, specific people, if they're lost. If they're in some other part of the country, or because it wasn't that a story that went along with Uncle Albert, that when he was missing in action.
Yeah, they went through a ceremony, and they found where he was in a foxhole near death.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandma and grandpa had contact with the people where he was stationed, and they told him right where he was, right from here.
Yeah.
And they went and took him out of there and took him to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that by the Shake and Kent G-Scan, that they could.
Yep. So if you're really in touch with your family and your ties and your teachings, and got your Indian name, and live your life in that way, then you're always connected. You're always connected in some way through the Creator, Great Spirit, God, however you want to say. But Indian people were given these gifts, and we know, or at least they know, how to do that. And I think that's tremendous. I hear stories like that quite a bit, not just from the Ojibwe or Anishinaabe side of my family, but also a great deal of stuff, from my Dene family down in Arizona. So, the medicine stuff, I mean, yeah, if you don't have them skills, that's just kind of the way it goes, but at least have your Indian name.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then the spirits recognize if you have an Indian name. If you put out your tobacco, they recognize you as you being Anishinaabe, or anybody that puts out Indian tobacco. They might know that they have a little Indian blood in them,
Mhm.
and they'll start having spiritual dreams, and the spirits will start recognizing them, and they'll come to them in dreams or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's why I say pray, learn a little prayer, when you say
Mhm.
your prayer, like, that's all you gotta do is say Manidug,
Mhm.
Kitawi Duko Wishin,
Mhm.
help me. And there is ways like people can find out their clans. Like, I know I worked with a lot of people like Dura,
Mhm.
and she was a porter,
Mhm.
and we'd always sit around and talk about clans and stuff, and she would always tell us the porter's clan,
Mhm.
and but I've worked with like Lois Benner and Betty Jane Bonus, and all them old ladies that are Big Alice, Junie Aquay, they used to call her,
Mhm.
Laura Pearl's mother.
Mhm.
Junie Aquay, that's Money Lady.
Mhm.
And Jesse named one of my granddaughter twins Junie Aquay.
Mhm.
That's Sunson's Niju De. She had twin girls,
Mhm.
and that's what they're called, Niju De, two hearts.
Oh yeah.
But and that's how they say the spirits recognize your name, and that's why I say know a little bit language. You never know
Yep.
when you're going to pass or what's going to happen in your life, and like they say, like say I was telling my granddaughter before she was with a white man, and I said, you know what? I said, when you're with your white man, I said, when you say both of you pass, I said, and you try to go with him, they won't let you in because you're a different race.
Mhm.
And if he tries to come with you, they'll send him to where his people
Uh-huh.
different. And I said that that's how it is. Well, that's how I was told, and
Yeah.
we are different even,
Mhm.
But at one time, all the Indians were all together.
Yeah. Yeah. So, back even before contact, this was our way. Things that we were instructed or taught, or you know. So, you look at it and you think to yourself, okay. I mean, not to be, I don't know what you want to call it, angry or spiteful, or
Mhm.
we're not. We're we know things happen, and it's we're recovering from that. Our relationship with or our interaction with church,
Mhm.
because that was the first one that came over.
Mhm.
The I guess you'd call them missionaries
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
Witness,
Yeah, yeah. And of course, we respected their viewpoint. It was not like they weren't without these teachings. But then of course there's people who they learned how to manipulate, using those teachings, and so those were the ones that we interacted with. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just just wanting the resources, wanting the land, wanting the minerals, wanting the timber, or whatever it was that they could make money on. That kind of turned that whole deal sour. But I heard that our people encouraged,
Mhm.
you know, um, their children, like I'm talking back in the 1800s, that they encouraged, you know, people to learn, you know, from our non-native people, because, you know, they knew that they were coming, and they knew that
things were going to change.
things were going to change, yeah. And so they said, you know, go ahead and learn that, you know. But they always, I think they always said that, knowing that they would always have that connection with their language and their spirituality and their teachings and customs, you know.
Like right now, people must know that we're never gonna all talk the same language, you know.
Yeah,
There's just gonna be a few maybe that
yeah,
pretty soon there won't be nobody,
yeah.
you know. But I have high hopes for the younger people to.
Well, I think the young people. Let me give you a story. I I always grew up thinking that, you know, all Native people were the same, especially like during my teen years or my preteen years. You know, like growing up from 10 years old to probably 16, 17. No, I'd say even beyond that, maybe right up until I was maybe 20 years old when I went to college, you know, and had more experience with the culture outside of Nett Lake, you know, because I would probably say, yeah, I was brought up, whatever it was in the 70s and 80s, I guess you could call it, not in a, let's say, just say not in a religious way. I wasn't exposed to a lot of, you know, church and all that kind of stuff, but I had more exposure to traditional knowledge than anything else, and so that's kind of what I've held my life, and it's been explained to me, you know, what it is to be a Native person and to have a strong identity in that way, and so that's kind of what's built me up. But I can see where kids today, right about that age, maybe 10 to 12 to 14, they kind of view everything in a more like a black and white thing, where everybody is a certain way, but they do understand that there are differences, you know, between people. And I think that when you view the world and you see it all as one way, like, yeah, we're gonna grow up, and one day there's not gonna be we're not gonna live in teepees, we're not gonna be hunting, trapping beaver, and we're gonna be modern, we're gonna go to the supermarket, we're gonna go to colleges, and we're gonna learn a lot of new stuff to help us survive in a new world, you know. But something that I always held to through those years, I would say 12 to 20, was that even though that's going to happen, that us Native people always had that spirituality. We always had our teachings, and we would always have that relationship to the Creator, the land, or our own land, our own teachings, and we would have respect among one another as Native people. But that wasn't so. You know, there's people that I don't know, just have their own view. You know, like resources. Like I can see differences between people in different reservations. You know, some people are really communal, like they want to live tightly together, and then there's other tribes that'll just spread out, and they want their own land, you know, and space. So those kind of things I never thought would have that much of a difference. But just like me and Shane used to tease each other, where we say, well, there's some people that like George Strong, and there's some people that don't like George Strong, you know, and most along the lines is probably a 50-50 or 52-48, you know, but there are differences. And so that's, you know, what you were saying about, or what I was saying about understanding, or at least coming to the realization that not all Indian people are the same too, you know.
I think Strongville was the last people to try to keep it, but they eventually dying off, and letting go of the culture, and like right now, me and Squeak are the only ones left that really lived there from birth to now. I told Perry he's going to do an invocation. I said, go talk to Squeak about how it was at school in his age.
Mm-hmm.
Squeak used to tell me that when they would play around Strongville, they'd be cowboys and Indians, and Squeak said everybody wanted to be the cowboy, nobody wanted to be the Indians. Then he also said in school, him, Dwayne Columbus, Bill Smith, Bill Day, uh, there was 7 of them guys. He said we'd all hang together, and we wouldn't do one thing in school. That's all we do is sit. We wouldn't do our homework. Nothing. And the teachers didn't make us do our things, he said. And so none of them had education, or none of them, they dropped out at 8th grade, or,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know. I was going to tell Perry, go talk to him about education, about school. When you do these invocations or talks about education with the kids,
Yeah.
and talk about how it was long time ago and how it is today, like how there's so many bullies in school that are making other kids commit suicide and not want to go to school.
Right.
I didn't. There was a few bullies in our Nett Lake school, but once you'd stand up to them, they would leave you alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in these big white schools, white Indian mixed, there's
Mm-hmm.
no getting along.
Yeah, it's there's quite a bit of I would say misunderstanding. You know what's really funny is it if people don't really understand or are accepting of one another, there's more ways that they can put barriers between them and whoever else that maybe they don't understand. That was one of the reasons why I really enjoy what we do here, is because we bring out a lot of these topics. I think there's from a traditional side, I don't want to. I hope there's not still that attitude out there that we want to go back to living in wigwams and I mean we know we're here today. It's just that we have this identity, and I think that's a good thing for our kids, is for them to understand, or at least that's my thinking of what it is that we're trying to help here, as KBFT, and how we try to share a lot of this cultural stuff and language, and because like that's what our elders have told me, is learn your language, and that'll lead you to everything else, that spirituality. And once you have that identity through that, then that's going to give you that positivity, to do anything that you want in this life.
Yeah, like I was telling, maybe someday we'll have to go back to some parts of our teachings from a long time ago, as like the world is, everything's going on today, all these shortages, all this fighting, all this,
Yeah.
And like I said, what my grandma told me is, when there's getting too many people on the world, that they take a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they like in like how much people are dying every day out where
Yeah.
they're warring
Mm-hmm.
and plane crashes and train everything sickness. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
maybe there is too much people that are too crowded and they're taking a
Mm-hmm.
lot. But I was telling Mark, I said, do you know? I said, do you think you can go live off the land if they paid you?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe for 2 weeks you go live off the land in the woods and they just give you a knife and a hatchet and something else.
Mm-hmm.
Go, and most likely they take you by a river or a lake, or you know that's where Indians used to
Yeah.
go all the time, by a river or a lake where
Mm-hmm.
there's water.
Yep.
And you had to kill animals to eat, and
Yeah.
they give you a box of matches. You think you could? He said, I don't know. He said,
Yeah.
I said, you know who I know a person that would be able to do that. He passed away last about 6 months ago.
Mm.
He would be able to go out and live on the land.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good he was with everything.
Yeah.
Trapping, hunting,
Mm-hmm.
fishing. You know, he was a good guy with everything. He could learn. You know,
Yeah.
he could make stuff. He could probably live out there just for a month maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and but we don't have him no more. He went home,
Mm-hmm.
but that now they, like I said, maybe I don't know if little Bill could live out there for maybe a week or something with no food and just
Yeah.
because we went one time. We went in um what's his name? Oh, your dad.
Mm-hmm.
We all took a boat going down the lake.
Mm-hmm.
We went down the river. There was like 6 of us. We took 2 boats. We were teenagers. Sixth grade. We were sixth graders, I think.
Uh-huh.
Well, we took 2 boats and we went down Wood Duck River. And the boys had knives, and the girls there was like 3 of us girls, and there was like 4 boys that all,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just hungry out there
Mm-hmm.
because we were gone all day and half the night. And so the boys killed a duck.
Mm-hmm.
They killed 2 ducks. I don't know. One of them, I think your dad had a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And we cleaned them ducks, and we cooked them over a fire. They made fire.
Yeah.
And because we were so hungry, not having nothing to eat all day.
Yeah.
Then at night we come back and we were lost because it was so dark. Nobody had electric lights around here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we were just paddling in the dark, wondering where we were going.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary out in the lake
Yeah.
at night.
Yeah.
But but he had little guns, so he got 2 ducks, and then they knew how to make a thing where to like how they put chickens on today to roast around.
Yeah.
They knew how to put them on a stick.
Yep.
And just turn them.
Like a spit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was him and Jones and Teeb.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. It's probably Jones. I said.
And Teeb and Gillig and Justin.
Oh.
Those 4 boys there. But we were thinking, what if we had to do this all the time?
Yeah.
Cook our own. We just had duck only because that's the only thing we knew how to cook on. I
Yeah.
suppose if we had water to boil the duck, we could have
Yeah.
boiled it in there, and
Well, that's one of the things I don't know. Well, I'll say it. I think that's kind of the way that our bodies were made, because right now we live, we can just go to the store, open the fridge, or get our drinks from a machine, and everything's so readily available. It wasn't back in them days, not when you guys were out there, but before,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm always amazed that our people even lived here, you know, like when it was 40 below and, you know, and they had a wigwam or a wickiup or, you know, birch bark shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And, but they were probably very, very hardy, strong people, you know, and I think the food thing too, even though they built up their food stores and all that, they could last a little bit longer, you know, in between our meals and stuff. And so I think that's still part of us.
Yeah, and
You know?
it's in our genes.
Yeah.
Like the kids that went to a lot of them I know don't like school.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went to the immersions camp, way far out where there was no traffic, we went by a lake or a river,
Mhm.
mostly by lakes. The kids were just at home there.
Yeah.
In the, you know, just
Yep.
they liked it.
Oh yeah.
And you know, we didn't they didn't take any like radio things with them. There was no electricity.
Mm-hmm.
We lived in Donnan and Joey made wagonagons where they
Mm-hmm.
had sleeping bags and stuff.
Yep.
Sleep on the ground, and the kids were just at home.
Yep.
And that's the way Indians were first. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when they were first here, they lived in the woods all
Yep.
the time. You know.
Well, a real tight relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not only just to the land, but everything that
Mm-hmm.
is on it, you know,
Yeah.
and especially our water. I know there's differences as far as
Mm-hmm.
our cultural differences, or you know, some areas that are troubled today by their water quality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you try to look at where Native people live, you know, that's the first thing, you know, that we try to maintain, you know, as our relationship goes with the land,
Mm-hmm.
you know, is make sure that our water is good, clean water.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, not even that. I would probably say it's just that we maintain its natural state rather than trying to use it for other purposes, you know, like other, you know, probably transportation is what we use it mainly for, you know.
Oh, well, we only got like two
A minute,
minutes
yep.
left. But what I was gonna say was, I was thinking, like we did that fry bread and
Oh yeah, for
soup taste.
yeah.
Like we should something on every month up here at
Station.
yeah, we should. I was telling Dale and what's his name, Darren in there, that we should have like a fry bread making thing up here.
Oh yeah.
You can, KBFT could donate like 25 pounds of flour
Yeah.
and oil and
Yeah.
baking powder, and then we could do that up here. Just have them bring their own bowl.
Oh yeah.
But I said have a sign-up sheet
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, put a sign-up sheet on, see, so we can just have how much to that are going to come.
Mm-hmm.
If no one comes at all from the community, we can just have the 6th grade girls and boys that are going into 7th come over and have a class on fry bread
There you go.
making.
I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
For May, sometime in May.
we'll talk to the staff here and see if we can get something organized. Maybe like the middle of May.
Yeah, sometime, yeah, in middle of May.
Okay, at least the people will get like a couple week notice anyway.
Yeah, just like a sign-up sheet
Okay,
and have them bring their own bowl.
there you go.
Yeah. So mi'atago nagikikituan nungong. That's all I'm gonna say today. Mi'atago nagikikituan nungong.
Oh, Bizendanwieg, Miigwech, and we'll see ya on Thursday, 2 days from now,
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
Nishigo, Nishigishik, and Giwampamigo.
Native American Calling is next.